First up, let's talk about the Monkey King himself, Sun Wukong. This guy's basically the Superman of Chinese mythology, minus the cape and with a lot more attitude. He can fly, shapeshift, and has a staff that can change size at will. Imagine if Gandalf and Goku had a baby. That's Sun Wukong. If you're not familiar with Journey to the West, just know that Wukong is kind of a big deal. Like rock star status. The game's entire story revolves around him, and you'll be stepping into his fur-covered shoes to kick some serious butt. Black Myth Wukong is developed by Game Science Studio, which is like the little studio that could of the game development world. They're a small Chinese studio that came out of nowhere and dropped one of the most visually stunning game trailers we've ever seen. Like seriously, that trailer made jaws drop harder than a loot crate in a free-to-play game. And the crazy part? They're doing this with a small team, showing up some of the big dogs in the industry. Talk about underdog story vibes. Speaking of that jaw-dropping trailer, we've got Unreal Engine 5 to thank for those sweet, sweet visuals. This game is rocking the latest tech, which means you can expect gorgeous environments, lifelike character models, and effects that'll have you questioning if you're watching a Pixar movie or playing a video game. Dynamic lighting, ray tracing. Yeah, it's all in there. You might want to make sure your PC isn't a potato before you try running this bad boy. All right, let's address the elephant, or should I say dragon, in the room. This game has been compared to Dark Souls more times than a cat video goes viral, and it's for a good reason. Black Myth Wukong isn't going to hold your hand, it's going to smack you upside the head with a magical staff and tell you to get good. The combat is challenging, precise, and will require some serious timing. So, if you're one of those players who thinks rolling around like a tumbleweed is a legit strategy, you're in for a treat. One of the coolest things about Wukong is his ability to transform. And in this game, that's not just for show, it's a core gameplay mechanic. Wukong can transform into a bunch of different forms, each with its own unique abilities. Need to sneak past some enemies? Boom, you're a tiny bug. Want to go all out in a boss fight? Transform into a big beefy warrior and smash everything in sight. It's like Pokemon, but instead of catching them all, you are them all. Ever played a game where the weather was just there? Not in Black Myth Wukong. This game has a dynamic weather system and a day-night cycle that actually affects gameplay. Certain enemies might only show up during a thunderstorm, or maybe that big bad boss is just a little bit tougher at night. It adds an extra layer of strategy. Like, hey, maybe I shouldn't fight the giant lightning dragon during a storm. Or maybe I should for the challenge. Your call. Now, if you're a lore nerd, Black Myth Wukong has you covered. This game isn't just about beating up mythical creatures, though there's plenty of that. It's got a rich narrative rooted in Journey to the West, and it's not afraid to explore some deep themes. We're talking about morality, deception, and the whole finding yourself journey, but with a lot more epic battles and cool cutscenes. So, if you're into stories that make you think while you're smacking around demons, this one's for you. If there's one thing Black Myth Wukong isn't lacking, it's boss battles. And these aren't your run-of-the-mill, hit 'em 3 times and they re-down kind of bosses. These guys mean business. Each boss has its own unique design, attack patterns, and weaknesses, so you'll need to learn fast if you want to survive. But don't worry. After a few deaths, you'll start to feel like a boss yourself. Or, you'll just cry a little and keep going. No judgment here. The combat in Black Myth Wukong is more than just button mashing. It's a blend of physical attacks, parrying, dodging, and, of course, magic. Wukong's got some seriously cool moves up his sleeve, and the key to success is figuring out how to mix them all together. Do you go in swinging with your staff? Or do you blast enemies from afar with some magic? Or maybe you just turn into a giant and crush them underfoot. Options, people, you've got options. Finally, let's talk about the thing we're all waiting for, the release. Black Myth Wukong is slated for release on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series XS. As for when exactly, initial release date is August 20th, 2024. Until then, we'll just be over here watching the trailer and gameplay on repeat and dreaming about smacking around some mythical monsters. And there you have it. 10 things you need to know before diving into Black Myth Wukong. This game looks like it's going to be an absolute blast, with challenging combat, stunning visuals, and a story that'll keep you hooked. So, whether you're a fan of Dark Souls, Journey to the West, or just cool-looking games in general, this is definitely one to keep on your radar. But hey, we're not stopping here. Next up, we're doing a deep dive into the game's abilities, transformations, and bosses, because there's a lot more to unpack. You don't want to miss it, so make sure to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and stay tuned. Until next time, keep gaming, keep slaying those bosses, and remember, don't mess with the Monkey King.